What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, and we're back at it. This is part 2 of the series, and basically we're still begging the question, why in the world do you need dexterity when you have strength? Right? Now, in the event that, you just kind of clicked on this video without having first watched part 1, this is basically going to be a multi-part series, right, that's going to showcase the usage of a lot of strength weapons. One thing that we kind of discussed in part 1 of the series is that, for understandable reasons, far too many people stick with dexterity weapons and they do not mix it up. I know I've created a video in the past. I can't really remember the title, but I do remember kind of some of the things that I was talking about. And some of the things that I was talking about basically is player creativity, right? This is another reason why I am showcasing this weapon. Now, I am under the belief that, and actually you have a lot of hotshot YouTube uploaders, right? You got good old Peeve, right, who does this thing. Dark Souls Mind's Eye, he's kind of handy dandy with the pyro and a great sight. You have a number of other ones, but those two, I basically, now, I'm not ignoring anybody, right, for all you dudes that are just looking for me to say something wrong, just to leave comments. I am not leaving out anybody. What I am doing, however, is saying that those two in particular are two of the more, what I would call, popular, right, uploaders. And therefore, a lot of people kind of pay attention to the things that they do, right? The point of me bringing them up was to say that a lot of people kind of check out vids. They may notice the success or what they interpret to be successful usage of certain weapons, right? And because they may see someone else being successful with the weapon, that they may say to themselves, you know what, I'm going to use that weapon too. Now, this is not to say that no one has their own imagination. I'm not trying to say that, no one is their own individual and they only copy. I'm not saying that, right? Because I know somebody will. I just know one person will say that that's what I'm trying to say. So let me kind of clear this thing up. The point that I'm getting at is, I am trying to demonstrate or showcase the usage of different weapons so that people can see that katanas are not the only weapons that you can use, right? The great scythe is not the only weapon you can use. And great swords are not the only weapons that you can use. So that's basically the purpose. No other purpose. That's why. I'm just kind of showcasing a myriad of things. Because basically I've had a number of videos where I'm kind of speaking to player creativity. Or what I would say sometimes is the lack of player creativity. Right? Because far too often did you see on the PS3, you saw tons of ninja flips. Then lately, and I don't know if I want to say lately in general, or I'll just say relative to my circle of players, I started to see a lot more people fast rolling, right? Which added a lot of diversity to PvP, which was a good thing, right? Because in my personal opinion, it tends to, get kind of boring when you see that everyone is ninja flipping. And that's why, once again, good old shout out to Eric. When I noticed him fast rolling with the build, I really thought it was a great idea, right? Because it would showcase to other people, look dude, you can also be successful with fast rolling. So that's basically what I'm trying to do with the strength build weapons. Showcase some of them, let you guys kind of see the potential of them, so you guys can say to yourself, you know what, let's kind of mix it up a little bit, right? Maybe I can build maybe I can create a quality build, right, that would incorporate the usage of both strength and dexterity weapons. Or maybe, I'll just start experimenting with strength weapons. So that's basically the purpose. I see far too many using the dexterity weapons. So I figured I'd kind of showcase some of the weapons that you rarely see. Case in point, I mean, how often do you really see this handy dandy axe that I'm wielding? I mean, not too often. And I know somebody will say, no, dude, because just the other day I fought somebody with one. Okay, exceptions to the rule do not disprove the rule. What I'm saying is you do not see it that often. Or I'll just stick it to I don't see it that often. Right, I'll just keep it a little more accurate. Right, because I know there'll be one person who will say, no, you're wrong because I saw one 10 years ago, you know, or something like that. So it is what it is. And actually, I don't know why I didn't get that parry. I mean, like twice it looked like the timing was right. You know, and this guy is basically a turtle. You know, he's not doing anything other than turtling. Which, I mean, I hate turtles, but I can kind of understand. Mainly because this dude, from what I can see, is going 0 poise. Right? And since he does not want to get stunned, I guess he believes that turtling is his best option. Right? So, I mean, even though I don't like turtles, I can understand based upon what he's wearing and a few other factors. Alright, so we have a heavy build right here. That's looks like he's using the same halberd that I am using. And I'm going to give this particular character a name. Right? And actually, I kind of got the armor idea from good old Brazen Coin. I think his new name is like Tukey Brazen or some kind of hotshot Brazen something. So basically, this character that sometime he wears a helm, sometime he doesn't. But his particular name will be Sir Martyrs von Steuben. Right? Sir Martyrs von Steuben. Now, some of you guys may say, dude, you're kind of really going off on the deep end. Where do you come in with the Sir Martyrs von Steuben from? Well, let me tell you. You know, when you kind of look at Chester's jacket up close, right, with the way that he's got that tie, it looked like he should just be a Von something. You know, those names that, you know, you're kind of, you know, Michael, Von, Eric, or, you know, it just has a Von in there, like, you know, you're just some kind of hotshot, top mobility type dude. Well, you know what? I like that little handy-dandy tie. He's got the rolls for the swag factor, you know, on his right side lapel. So I just figured, you know what? That's going to be this dude's name. Sir Martyrs von Steuben. So whenever you see this character, right, with the Guardian leggings, the Guardian gauntlets, the Chester's jacket, trench coat, you know, with the swag rolls on the side and the tie, with or without the Elite Knight helm, that's Sir Martyrs. Alright, so just go ahead and give me a shout out. Alright, so enough with the comedy. So, as you guys can see, we're still practicing with the strength weapons. Now, let me kind of go over my builds for a minute. The way I see it, you can kind of go 2 versions of a strength build. And this is why I say that. You can go the straight strength, which basically you will invest somewhere between 40 and 50 points in strength and no more than about 12 or 13 in dexterity, right? Or you can go, I don't know, what some might consider a full strength, and that option will have 18 in dexterity. Now, what is the difference between the two? Small difference. As a matter of fact, the difference is so small that one option only allows you to utilize some of the Black Knight weapons. That is the only difference, right? So in other words, if you do not invest 18 points into dexterity, you will not be able to use the Black Knight weapons, although you will be able to use the vast majority of other strength weapons. But if you kind of want to mix it up, like with the Black Knight halberd, you know, Black Knight axe, or, you know, Black Knight ultra great sword, whatever that thing is called, then you should go to 18 in dexterity. Right. So this particular build, now, I do not have the stats in front of me. I'm just kind of thinking about it. But this is a level 105. Right, I didn't stop at 100. I'm not really into the high-speed Coliseum. And to the extent that I did kind of want to compete, I do have one level 100, which you guys have kind of seen in the past. It's that Elite Knight, basically a dexterity build. The Elite Knight that I use pretty often. And that build is basically not only for invasions, but also whenever I kind of want to rock in the Coliseum. Right, so this is a level 105. And the stats are... now, I know the strength is 50. The endurance is 35. Endurance is 35. Dexterity is 18. And I think the vitality is like 47 or 48. However much vitality will get me to 105. That's how many I have at this point, right? So it's like 47, 35 in endurance, 50 in strength, and 18 in dexterity. Now, the way I see it, if you're going to use the medium roll, it is best, in my personal opinion, to weight yourself with all the armor and weapons that you intend to use at any given point, and whatever minimum amount of endurance you need to maintain a medium roll, that's what I will stop at. Because in other words, it really does not make sense to invest a lot of points in endurance if you're going to medium roll. Case in point, I chose the heaviest strength weapon that I thought that I would use, right? Which is that stone great axe or stone great hammer, whatever the one those guardians use in the royal wood. And that particular weapon is 24 units, right? And as a matter of fact, it is the heaviest strength weapon, at least up to this point, right? Because not even the I think it's the demon great hammer, I mean that's only like 22 units. Okay, so I took all the armor that I was going to use, the heaviest shield that I thought I would use, and whatever weapon combinations, which in most cases on all of my builds will include a primary and secondary right hand weapon, a shield, and something else, right? May it be a bow, may it be, an javelin, whatever the case may be. In most cases, all 4 slots are full, right? So I took the armors that I would use, the heaviest items, put it all on there, right? And whatever the minimum amount of endurance it would take for me to sustain a medium roll, that's what I went with, right? So that's why I have only 35. Because in other words, why invest 5 more souls into endurance, making it 40, when 35 is sufficient, right? That would be a waste of souls, right? So that's why I have only 35. Now I also have Sir Brigade von Steuben, and version 125. The only difference between the 105 Sir Brigade and the 125 Sir Brigade is the 125 Sir Brigade sacrificed 10 levels for using some of the heavier weapons. In other words, I stopped at 40 in strength as opposed to 50 on this build, and the 50 would just allow me to use some of those dragon weapons and some of those other weapons. So I sacrificed the usage of those for more points in endurance so I can fast roll, right? So in other words, the 125 Sir Brigade, he can still fast roll with the Zweihander. He can fast roll with the Black Knight Halberd. He can fast roll with a number of weapons. And actually, I think that build has 13 dexterity. And actually, I think it has 18 as well, because I also used the Black Knight Halberd. So on that particular build, I think I have like 60 endurance, 40 strength, 18 dexterity, and whatever other points in vitality will get me to 125. Right, so Sir Brigade comes in 2 versions. Now, that's pretty much it with regard to this build. There's really nothing much to a strength build. Now, in some cases, I would say that outside of fast swing speeds, the strength build kind of has an advantage over the dexterity build in some cases. The main case, in my opinion, is the fact that some weapons you only have to invest. Well, actually, I can't even really say that because it's kind of the same with it's kind of the same with the dexterity weapons. But what I will say is, with regard to making a strength build, I think it's the best thing to only stick with strength-based weapons. Case in point, you may be a strength build, right? But you like a claymore. And you may say, well, I mean, it kind of, you get a C in strength and a C in dexterity. So, I'll just kind of go ahead and use my claymore with my strength build, which is cool, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, are you really getting the maximum effectiveness of that claymore? You're not really getting the maximum, right? And I'm not saying that everyone needs the maximum. But what I'm saying is, if your intent is to create a strength build, then why not just use the Man Serpent Greatsword, right? Because in other words, you will get maximum effectiveness out of the Man Serpent Greatsword because it only has a scaling in strength, right? So no D's, no E's, no F's, no C's, no nothing in dexterity, right? So a 40 in strength, you good to go. 40 in strength for the, some of these other weapons, you're good to go. But if you're going to stick with the strength build, stick with the strength weapon. Now, some of these weapons, in my opinion, are more quality or warrior type builds. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? I would say that a claymore, the stone greatsword, bastard sword, some of the long swords, some of these other swords that has 2 scalings for one weapon, those are more like quality build weapons. Now, you have some that kind of lean to one category more than they lean in others. Case in point, let's just say the halberd, for example, or even a rapier. Now, you definitely get the most benefit by increasing the dexterity, right? But you also get a pretty good difference in weapon effectiveness when you invest some points in strength. So in other words, let's just take, for example, the halberd, right? 16 and 12, I think you get a B or C scaling or something like that in dexterity. And then you get a D, let's just say, in strength. Well, just because it's a D, right? The closer you increase the strength stat for the halberd, somewhere around 30, like you really don't see that much difference between, I would say, like 16 points in strength and around 25 points. But once you go, like in other words, let's just say, you invest your little 40 points in dexterity, and in strength you say, okay, I'm going to take it up to 40, so I'm going to make a quality build, 40 strength, 40 dexterity. You really get the maximum benefit for the most part in the halberd. Now, it's still decent, right? When you just have the minimum strength stat for the halberd and you increase the dexterity scaling for the halberd, but you will definitely get a much stronger weapon when you use the 40-40. And this is one of the reasons why I just do not like the fact that so many people are stopping at level 100, right? Because as I have said in the past, you will basically see the end of a quality build for the most part, right? And if you don't see the end of it, it won't really be a strong one. In other words, let's just say you say, well, actually I can create a quality build. It'll just be 25-25. Guess what? If I just did a straight strength build against your 25-25 quality, my attacks will hit much harder than yours, right? Or even if you went pure dexterity and you say, well, I am doing a quality build. I'm just 25-25. Guess what? That dexterity build, and actually I should have hit that parry right there. I really don't know what happened. But that dexterity build will hit harder. The main reason for this is because you get the most benefit, for some reason, between 30 soul levels and 40. Right? Somewhere between 30 and 40 is where you really see a jump in effectiveness. Right? So if you want to stop at 25 and 25 for equality, I mean, you're really not seeing the maximum effectiveness. Whereas if you go pure dexterity or pure strength, right, they've taken it to 40. So they're basically going to see the maximum effectiveness at that particular level. All right, now I know all that may have sounded kind of confusing, but some of you experienced guys may know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so enough about the scaling, enough about the usage of strength weapons and stats and how to invest and all that other nonsense. All right, so as you guys just saw, I'm kind of breaking them off with the mace. Now, another weapon that I like in the strength class as a secondary weapon is the reinforced club. One of those clubs that, I mean, a lot of people sleep on. And actually, I should have hit that parry right there. But from what I can see, looks like I wasn't close enough. Had I been a little closer, I would have parried him twice. All right, but one is good enough, right? I won't get greedy. All right, so he's back for round 2. So, I mean, after getting parried, I hope he kind of tightened up on the tactics. Alright, so as I was saying, with regard to a secondary right hand strength weapon, I also like the reinforced club, mainly because it inflicts poison, right? And with it inflicting poison, once you buff it with the rotten resin, it will, I mean, like after 2 shots, somebody's inflicted with poison. And that's a good thing, in my personal opinion. Especially when you kind of pair off a poison effect with the Grave Lord sword. Right? Because in some cases, you'll get somebody basically panicking. And this is why I carry a bow as well, even though I'm a strength build, right? Because I've had somebody ask me, they're like, dude, I mean, what are your stats? Because, I mean, you have a bow and you're using strength weapons. Well, guess what? I only have 18 in dexterity. But my usage of the bow is not to basically, you know, get 200 or 300 points off, you know, with each arrow. That's not the focus. The reason why I do that is because those poison arrows has a pretty good rate of infliction of poison. Right? So it's not that I'm necessarily going for the damage, even though it does inflict some damage with only 18 dexterity. I mainly carry the bow so that I can inflict poison. Right? So I have the bow in one hand, and I have my rotten resins, and some of my clubs. And in some cases, I use the Grave Lord sword. Right, so in addition to the strength weapons, I'm also inflicting them with status effects, which, I mean, could be a good thing. I mean, honestly, I've actually won a lot of battles by having somebody basically just die of poison, right, which is a good thing. Kind of mix up your tactics, right? I don't always have to hack and slash. Sometimes you can get kind of strategic with your methods of engagement. Alright, so we have 2 invaders, and actually it looks like I'm about to get gang banged, and one is a mage, and one has the life hunt scythe or something like that. So I'm really in trouble. Hopefully he'll kind of have some mercy, and actually look like he is. Alright, so I'm getting a break. Lucky me. Alright, lucky me. Because it's bad enough trying to battle a mage, especially with the upgrades they've done to the sorcerer class. But in addition to fighting one mage, is even more difficult when you have to fight somebody with a bleed accumulation of, I think it's like 500, I think, or something like that. Oh, hey, adios, amigo. He disappeared for whatever reason. Maybe he lost his connection, I don't know. Well, alright guys, I think that is enough rambling for part 2 of the series. Right. So stand by for the 3rd part. And actually, I guess this guy has determined for this to be a handy dandy tactic where you kind of give your back to your opponent and cast a Holy Crystal Soul Mass. But dude, you're giving me your back. I mean, I'm just gonna take it. You know, yeah, I mean, you understand? Like, in other words, why would you turn your back to me and then cast it when that's basically a welcome mat for a backstab? So, whatever. Just like right there, why are you turning backwards, dude? Now, if you kind of want to do... He's doing it again. In other words, if you want to do a hotshot tactic like that, why not just unlock? Right? Because when you unlock, it will not automatically shoot unless your opponent gets pretty close to you. Alright, so enough about that. As I was saying, guys, stand by for part 3 of the series, Martyr's Brigade.